Hello, it is the 8th of May, 2011. Welcome to the Silver Log. This will focus towards the Mayan calendar. Really not that of a calendar, but more along the lines of that of a schedule. And a lot of the information that's given is kind of catastrophic. They say all these things are going to happen on this specific date, and I look at everything they talk about, and well, it's happening now. Oh, there's going to be those droughts and those floods. Yeah, I'm seeing them. I'm seeing them. And how about those tsunamis and those earthquakes? Well, houses going through the ocean. Yeah, that's like the movie. Pretty terrific, terrifying to say the least. And we're still surviving. However, all those different things they talk about, yeah, they seem to be going on. And the biggest one that I can think of coming because it's predictable is that of the financial system, derivatives market, paper, bonds, all of those sort of things. Goodbye. And therefore, when is this collapse of the currency going to happen? Well, when's the date of the calendar going to end? If the calendar ends here, then it's going to be somewhere in here, either a little bit before it, right on it, or a little bit after it. My guess is that wherever the Mayan calendar ends, that will be the time frame in which it will start to recover. And the recovery they talk about, it's oh man. Well, obviously when you pump fiat money in the system, it's all exploding. And when you have more and more people finding out all of this information going on within the fiat currencies, how the money's created, how a debt system works, or there's just so many different ones. It really shouldn't be that difficult to at least get within the basics that it is a control based system where there's no way of paying this debt off. The storm has to happen. And would the storm not happen within this time frame instead of say 2027 if the calendar's going to end in 2011 or 2012? Now, as far as when it ends, the date 2012, they got no scientific evidence or proof. There is mass evidence for this time frame just by looking around and seeing what's going on. But as far as a date, there is no proof and very little evidence except for sometime soon. Not tomorrow, not next month, but sometime soon. And when we put this into play, if this thing ends like around the fall, these are quarter charts. This is quarter two. That would be the start of the fourth quarter. So this would be a very volatile one, and then it will just the next one will be massively explosive because that would be during the heat of everything. Because as we move forward, more and more things happen in less and less time within the consciousness of the planet. It's been pretty remarkable how much has already occurred just within the last 3, 4 years alone, as a lot of things, it's getting tremendous what's going on. Anyway, if it does end up being much later on in December 2012, maybe even March, well, even June, July, August, at the earliest into 2013 and beyond, what most likely will happen is, yes, that of a pretty serious correction because it's most likely going to collapse the currency, the financial system, in and around the time that this calendar ends, give or take a few weeks. That seems the most logical. It's not going to happen 5 months before or 5 years before it ends, 10 years after it ends, but during this time frame, most likely, at least if they're stating that more and more things happen per series, and I'll show you what I mean because people have asked me about this logarithmic. If you divide each of these numbers by one another, it'll come to 1.35 each and every time. But I was asked about logarithmic for this and here, and I sort of do, and I'll get to that in a moment because it's the logarithmic for the Mayan time would be situations where one candle would contain 25 years, and the next one is a little over 23. and then it goes from 23, and it would keep on depreciating with less days in it to give about the same amount of time. And how I've done that is through different calculations. I've started off with the year 1371. From this time to 1502 represented a certain period of consciousness. Now, it didn't mean there was anything glorified about 131 years at this time frame. Only that 131 years would turn out to be 104 on its next eventual sequence. Then to 1600, and all of these numbers, the open, the high, the low, the close, is working within an inflation adjusted period. There was no fiat money back then, and how they came up with the calculations on the 650-year chart, I have no idea. However, as we move in quicker, we now see here from 1909 to 1930, that's 21 years, where before it was over 100. And that's what's going on. What used to happen in 100 is now taking place in a month and a half as far as an overall conscious level. Now, when you look at us as humans sleeping so many hours a day, living 24 hours a day, we live in a linear level within logarithmic sort of consciousness, which may challenge us to a degree. I don't know exactly, but it's pretty clear that we as humans are not logarithmic time-based beings. We're linear. Yet the movements of consciousness are not linear, as of course are the stock charts. Now, the way this chart would look would be something like this. Let me just copy this and put it in Paint. That would be so much easier. Okay, that's what this chart would look like. Obviously, we can see here, this is the entire chart itself, but much bigger candles in here and much smaller as the dates have been getting smaller. That could be one, well, maybe the Mayan calendar speed quickening up is not real. And two, it could also be, well, we live in linear time, therefore that would just be natural, basically. However, when you look at this chart in here, we can see how much of an organized, nice trading manner this becomes for so many years. And then a pretty big crash for that time frame, and trades a little normal, much bigger crash, huge rally, huge crash. They both would have the same sort of message, basically. So things are moving faster. When you look at this chart, it doesn't show as much. However, if things do get out of control, then these charts would at least have windows of this size. A candle from here to here would, let's just put it this way, if we copy and paste this and say we're up here, that would be go from 252 down to like 140 in maybe what just would be a few days. Because if we look at the dates, how this is set up, what's happening here in a month from August would be to September would only be about a week and a half. And here you got 3 to 8, that's 5 days, 4 days, and well, now you're talking game over. And I can't continue on because of weekends and stuff. And well, when you're looking at the last few days before we get to that 0 point, that's what's going to take time to figure out. Okay, the changes would most likely come in that time frame. The biggest changes on all secular levels, whether it be through the environment or the silver market, or how the Citigroup shares are going. In the whole banking system, there probably won't be a Citigroup at this time frame. If, of course, this is when game over for this current cycle comes into play. Because I believe that the COMEX is going to crash and the stock market's going to crash, but not by these prices, but by its conscious level of existing the way it does in the first place.